we have to keep the mime. There's no way we can drop the mime. That's where it stems from. That's where the story springs from. Not from the dancing, but from the mime. The history of mime in ballet, well, it goes back hundreds of years, and we tend now to use it mainly in the big classics that we do, the Sleeping Beauties, the Swan Lakes, the Giselles. But over the years, I think mime has become far more accessible than it used to be. The baby. We do still stick to very strict gestures. For instance, in the Sleeping Beauty, we have to say that a handsome prince will come and kiss the princess who has been sleeping and dreaming. Now, an audience seeing just that would go, oh my God, I'm not going to understand a word. But they have to realise, and I always say this to people who are nervous about coming to the ballet because of mime and, oh, we won't understand what they're saying. It's not just the gestures, it's the body language, it's the whole theatrical process, it's the lighting, it's the costumes, it's the music. Because a lot of these gestures are complemented and accented by the music. And so with the combination of it all, actually it's very, very easy and clear to understand. For young people starting out with mime, I think it's a very terrifying prospect because they're not tied to musical phrases with steps, choreographic steps, actually on each beat of the music. They've got to tell a story using these gestures. They've got to make it look natural, which is the hardest thing, but they've also got to keep that in line with the musical aspect.
It's actually kind of trickier to learn the mime because we're so used to learning ballet steps that comes more naturally to us. So it's actually quite tricky to make sure you get all the bits exactly right and, you know, on the music, and otherwise, you know, you muck the story up.
The main thing though is really to instill in them that they've got to be thinking the character, they've got to be the character before they even start a conversation. They've got to know what sort of person they are and consequently how they're going to speak to people. The difference between the way Carabosse speaks, the wicked fairy, and the difference the way the lilac fairy speaks is so totally different. In fact, we have exactly the same mime when the lilac fairy says, I will speak. She uses her middle finger gently to a slightly open mouth, which they find difficult because the words have to come out. When Carabosse says, I speak, Carabosse speaks with serpents coming out of her mouth. So there you get the, not even a subtle change, but it's the same mime, but done in a very different way.